Welcome to Spader Christmas. So, Christmas Expo is an annual conference that kind of kicks off the lighting season. Now, some people will run Halloween displays, some people just run Christmas displays like me. Some people run July 4th displays, and there may be other holidays that people run their lighting, but this is about the time generally when things kind of kick into gear. This year, Christmas Expo was held in Daytona Beach, Florida, and Kathy and I made a little vacation out of it. We had a room facing the ocean, and I did wake up one morning early for this. Expo gives those of us in the hobby a chance to get together for a few days and maybe learn some new things. There's a whole schedule of classes. There's a vendor area, and it's really just a chance to kind of talk to other people that have either been in the hobby for a long time or are just starting out. For example, Sean Megan is kind of the guy that started the whole Xlights thing. I think it was Nutcracker back then, but it was years ago. I met him at last year's Expo. Sean's wife, Lilia, has really spent a lot of time with Xlights and gone through every effect and every, slider for each effect. And so really understands what the application is capable of. So when she sits down to sequence a song or program the lights to the music, she kind of pictures something in her head and then really just kind of keeps working with it until she gets what she pictured in her head. Kind of like a sculptor or something like that. They start with a big piece of granite and they just keep chipping away at it until what they have matches what was in their head. Expo typically starts on a Thursday, but you can sign up for a couple of long, 2-day classes prior to Expo. And they had a 2-day Xlights class. But this year, the ladies running the Expo sent out either postcards or letters to city leaders inviting them to the expo so that they could learn to use Xlights and kind of spice up their display. Some of the people that were sent had no idea what a pixel was and had never even heard of Xlights. Sean and Lilia were expecting people at least familiar with Xlights that had sequenced a song before, and they're just trying to enhance their skill set. So Lily is going at normal speed here. She grabs an effect, pulls it down, adds a layer, makes some adjustments, pulls another effect, another layer, more adjustments, and then voila, the thing looks awesome. Now, if you're the guy mowing lawns for the city and you've been sent to this training and you have no idea what a pixel is, you're sitting there kind of going, it's kind of like you've never ridden in a car and your first ride is with a professional driver at Daytona International Speedway going 175 miles an hour around the track. It might be a little scary.
How's that second
Oh
time?
my God, high five.
Then again, maybe not. Well, it turns out the guy with no prior experience was able to sequence his first song by the end of day 2. That's actually pretty cool. Now, I attended Lilia's kind of Xlights for Noobs class during the expo and picked up a few pointers. The display's going to be pretty awesome this year. I also met Dan Culp for the first time this year. He's one of the developers for Xlights. He compiles the versions for the Mac. He does a lot of work with Falcon Player and has his own line of pixel controllers built off the BeagleBone platform. Smart guy. I think this was his first expo. Here's some video from the vendor area. Now, I didn't stop and talk to everybody, and the video's a little out of focus. I was set up to get the sunrise and forgot to take my camera off of manual focus. You can still see pretty good, just understand it's a little out of focus. I also got a chance to sit down with Keith Wesley and talk to him for a little bit. He's another Xlights developer, contributes a lot to the app, but he also produces YouTube videos covering the recent changes that have gone on. And it really just kind of depends on what's gone in as to when the video actually comes out. But it's a great way to stay up to date with the current changes going on in Xlights. Again, slightly out of focus.
So I think we're going to see Xlights go in a couple of different directions, right? You know, people are building more and more channels, right? People are buying those really big panels, and you know, they're hugely dense, and they've got so many channels, and Xlights has somehow got to keep up because, you know, as we very easily double and triple our channels, we don't want to be double and tripling our render times and slowing things down. So we're going to have to find ways to continue to work around that problem to make the thing usable, and we're not going to be able to just rely on people buying faster and faster computers to try and stop that. So I definitely think we're going to be spending some time there. You know, I think Xlights has embedded itself pretty well in the Christmas community. I think, you know, there's a large proportion of people that use it. And so now the opportunity becomes, well, who else is doing RGB lighting or similar sorts of things, and how do we make it usable with them? Or how do we make Xlights usable with people that have got more complex shows? You know, we're starting to see Xlights used in a lot of commercial areas, and, you know, finding ways to make it work. You know, a home show is never going to have a fireworks show, but a light and fireworks show absolutely happens out there. And how do we help people coordinate those two things together, keep everything in synchronization? And so we've got to explore different technologies that are more commonly used outside. And so, you know, last year we saw X-Fade come along, which was attempting to be a bit more live type control of LED lighting. Now, there's no one in the Christmas community who's going to use that because it's just not useful, but, you know, it's a branch out. I also think that people's Christmas light shows, particularly in the climates that I'm in, the climate that you're in, right? People do get out and they walk around, and they you know, they actually stand outside and watch your shows. But if you can make those shows interactive, it's so much more memorable, right? As more and more people get very similar sorts of Christmas light shows, you know, the amount of effort that you need to go to engage people and make your show more memorable than the other 3 RGB shows that are in town now, when you used to be the only one, you got to up your game. Yeah. And how do you up your game? Well, you make it interactive, right? You know, kids love to touch things, and you know typically, you know, the sorts of things you don't want them touching, but you know, you like to. I love kids love being on camera. Yeah. So, you know, putting a webcam out there and let the kids dance around in front of it and appear on that big P5 matrix P5 panel that you've built, that's kind of cool. Kids love that sort of stuff. Right, you know, having buttons that they can press where they can control elements and change things, you know, it's engaging and it's more memorable for the kids, rather than the kids showing up and, you know, you're basically forced to play children's music because otherwise they sit around and go bored. Oh my God, Carol of the Bells, really? So yeah, they're the sorts of things I think we're going to go to.
Now, you did say most, you know, residential is not going to have fireworks. Some might. I'm not saying I am.
You know, I speak to so many people who either come into the hobby through your videos, or they, you know, they kind of get the idea they want to, but then they take on your videos and it's kind of like, oh wow, you know, this guy, you walk them through it, you don't assume a great deal of knowledge. And that can be the hardest thing in this hobby, right? You know, I look at the software and, you know, I've stared at the thing so often, I don't see it through a new user's eyes. Yeah. And I love watching videos of people who are looking at it through new users' eyes, because you suddenly get this perspective that you just don't get when you're in it all the time, and you're deep in the guts of why it is the way it is.
Well, and I even have that trouble. You know, it's I think a lot of the networking piece specifically, I don't know how many networking videos I've done, because it's like I'm still not getting through to that person that doesn't understand networking. You know, there's people that have computer backgrounds and it's like, yeah, I got it. And then there's people that don't. You actually did a good talk at at the mini,
in
one
Sydney
of the minis,
a few years back. Yeah.
and that was really good. And actually, I probably stole some of that and put it into the next video I did. But I still have people that I just don't get this.
So one of the other areas that we're focused on this year is around, again, taking a lot of those abstract concepts out. This year I've just released ZCPP. It may be a success, it may be an absolute bomb, but at the end of the day, it's an attempt to say, why do people have to understand these abstract concepts like universes, start channels, and all of these sorts of things? They're not a natural thing. And so with ZCPP, we've tried to change the way you configure a model to say, I know what controller I've plugged it into, I know which ports on the controller that I'm using, and if I've got several of them connected to each other, I know what order I've plugged them in. Mm-hmm. And that's all we want you to have to describe. Will the old school guys do it? I don't know. There's still old school guys out there that use absolute channels. I have no idea why, but apparently it's the only way real men do it.
Well, it's funny. I switched over to the F48 this past year, and I had set all my models up the way you had told us to, say, here, so it would configure everything. So I shot the configuration out to the F48, and I was amazed at how easy it was to set everything up, because I could set up a differential receiver's worth of props, test that, and then go on to the next one. And I was like, oh man. And this was the first year that I really didn't have any weird issues of setting up stuff. Of course, now some of that is experience, making sure all my connections are tight and all that kind of stuff. But it was really a whole lot easier to set up this year and get everything programmed.
I like to take the things out that are problematic and the mundane and the routine. Doing the same thing over and over again just doesn't make the hobby enjoyable. I prefer that you have the opportunity to be creative, or if you enjoy building props. My experience is it's rare to find someone who loves doing all aspects of our hobby, right? Some people build their own controllers because they love the electronics. Some people just like building their own props. Some people really just like sequencing, right? And there's a niche for everybody. And given the nature of the community and the nature of the vendors that offer products for reasonable prices to hobbyists, right? You can choose to do that, and then you can choose to buy the pieces that you don't enjoy doing, all right? Or you can get support from the community around you to help you with the things that you struggle with. And that's, at the end of the day, as much as, I'm really proud of what, Sean and Matt and Gil and Dan and everyone have done in building, a really quality sequencer, at the end of the day, it's the community that's really amazing, because they're all so supportive of each other, right? And supportive of Xlights, right? It's almost tribal. I mean, these people drive around with cars with Xlights tags. Isn't that just a bit weird?
License plates.
So, there are a couple of resources I always recommend to people, right? Being from Australia, I'm a member of the ACL community, and it's a fabulous community down under. We use a Zoom call. We also have got a chat room that's actually pretty active, unlike most of the others that have died over the years. But the ACL guys have a 101 manual, which is kind of the Bible to someone coming in new. Those people who like to actually read and see pictures, etc., it's a really, really useful resource. It's free. All you have to do is sign up and join their website, and you get access to it. It's over 100 pages of detailed stuff explaining all of these concepts. I think that's amazing.
So Ozcris, ACL, we got
the videos.xlights.org, right? There's over 200 videos out there. One of the downsides of having software that changes as often as we do is that sometimes the videos get a little bit dated, and we do remove them occasionally because they become so dated that they're not useful. But there's a huge number of videos out there. We know that there are some other people that choose to share their videos via other mechanisms who are also making a lot of help videos, and you can definitely reach out to those. Odds are, if you're buying sequences, your sequence provider has videos that at a minimum show you how to import them onto their display, but they'll often have other content as well that you'd want to take advantage of, right? But the big thing is find a local mini. And it may not be called a mini in your place, but invariably at least once per year, within your state or potentially within a couple of states, they will have a get together where it's an opportunity to come together, feel, touch the hardware, see the options, see how other people have constructed things, etc. And they're enormously valuable exercises. When I first got into this hobby, I went down some pretty dark alleys, right? There were some pretty scary beasts there. But I went to a few minis, and suddenly I found out all these options that I just didn't know exist. And I got to touch and feel these controllers and understand the value of them, because it can be a big investment for someone to invest $200 in this sort of controller or $400 in that sort of controller. You want to know that you're doing the right thing and you've got others around you that can help you. And meeting people face to face, it's one of the reasons why I come over here. The opportunity to meet people face to face just makes those conversations go a lot easier down the track, and you'll find people who live nearby you who you can get together with, and it's a great resource. You really should look. I think Ed Smith has a post in the Facebook group where he kind of aggregated together where a lot of these groups were.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for sitting down with us for a few minutes and talking to us. We look forward to many great Xlights updates coming soon.
Absolutely. It's been great to see you, Jeff.
Thank
It's
you.
always good to come over here and see all of the folks in the US community, and hopefully some more of the Australian brethren will be coming over at future expos.
Or perhaps some of us could go over there. I know at least one person I've talked to here is going.
I've had lunch with Ed Smith in Sydney. Bill Porter was out here, came out, saw my show. We went for a bit of a drive around and saw a few other shows. It's always good. If you're in town, look us up.
Yeah, okay. Well, thanks. That guy is an encyclopedia of lighting information. And Keith, thanks again for the interview. Great guy. One evening while I was preparing to get this, I just happened to catch this. It actually looks pretty cool backwards too. After the day's planned activities have ended, there could be a dinner, but several of us get together in the lobby to just kind of talk. I got the chance to talk to Bill Porter about 5-volt power injection. I was actually under the impression that all his lights were 5-volt, and he brought up an important point. He said, no, 12-volt pixels still have their place. 5-volt is great if you can do the power injection pretty easily, because there is more power injection with 5-volt pixels. But like I said, there's generally some discussion of lighting, some joke telling, some shenanigans. This year there was an element of competition added to the event.
Just so you heard, I heard you guys from the fifth floor.
Expo officially ended Saturday afternoon, so Sunday, Kathy and I drove to Orlando and stayed at the Disney Caribbean Resort. Now, we didn't go to any of the parks because it's a little hard for Kathy to get around, but we did go to Disney Springs for a little shopping and dinner. We also drove around to all the resorts in the area and photographed this at the Disney All-Star Movies Resort. 6 a.m. flight Wednesday, and we made it home safe. James from Biscoyo gave me a sample of his new strip. It's a new formulation that is designed to stretch a little less. I didn't have any problem with last year's version, but apparently there has been some testing done, and this stuff stretches even less. This is the natural color. It's kind of translucent, and there is the black version. It comes in rolls, so it's great for holding either the bullet pixels or the square pixels. James also mentioned something about the chroma mesh, the holes in the chroma mesh. Not really sure what that's about. I'll get a chance to try the new version out this year because I'm planning on building 4 of them, so stay tuned for that. I saw a Pixel starter kit in the Crockett Fantasy of Lights booth that includes everything you need to get a few pixels going. So if you know nothing about pixels, it might be what you're looking for. Check out the Pixel Starter Kit Desktop Starburst. And Ken McMaster from Wired Watts out of Georgia said he has some house outline products he'd like me to check out, so you may see a video of that coming soon. And finally, pixelcontroller.com has some new smart differential receivers. These are last year's models, so these are not the smart ones. The smart ones have got 2 connectors so that you can daisy chain these. As soon as I get some of those, I'll do a video on that. Oh, and I want to give you a quick YouTube tutorial. If you go to the YouTube homepage, you'll see a bunch of videos that YouTube thinks you might be interested in based on videos you've watched before. And that's if you have a YouTube login. They're free, by the way. If you subscribe to a channel, it puts that channel in your subscriptions feed. Finally, if you hit the bell, you'll get a notification when a new video is uploaded for that channel. And again, you have to be logged in for this to work, but it's all free. Now, you do have to do that for every channel you want to be notified from, but it's a quick way to get to the channels that you look at frequently. End of YouTube tutorial. So that was Christmas Expo 2019. If you were there, I hope you had as much fun as we did, and I hope you learned a lot. If not, hopefully you can come next year. It's highly recommended. Now, I do have a lot of videos planned for the rest of the year, so hit that subscribe button. If you have any questions, leave them below. Other than that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.
Now, I shot an email.
So I got 6 of these, and so I got 5 of these when I started relaxing a little bit, and then BAM!